a tribe, for example, I want to speak that since we're talking about the main contention, which seems to be the major issue that is facing Nigeria as a country, is on the place of Igbo. I don't know if you all remember, because I'm saying some of these prophecies here, more like a recap of something that already been said before, years ago or long ago or quite some time ago, or even a few time ago, a few months ago. So, but when you look at it, you will also see, as was prophesied, on the issue of whether there will be an Igbo nation or not. That is a settled matter. There is already an Igbo nation. But he's talking about recovering the Igbo nation as the Igbo nation. That's the subject of the conflict. So the issue of Igbo nation is already established, and that is already sanctioned by God. And even the recovery of it is also sanctioned, but there are conditions. So I just want to say that. That is why, if you remember that it's prophecy before, that it has already been spoken, that in order for peace to reign in the region, all towards Africa as a whole, there is also the importance of the people, the neighbors of Igbos, looking into what kind of a country or a nation do they want to be their neighbor. Because when they get their act together, is it going to be no longer internal problem, but a war between one country over another? And then, is it a country that will be in enmity with one another? Because that is inevitable. So the question is reconciliation, amending the relationship, that when that happens, whenever they find their way, because as you can see, their problem, and in fact, a lot of people blame Nigerian government. Of course, what do you expect the Nigerian government to do, or the Buhari administration? His job is to try to sow discord among you so that you will never be united, so that you to stop whatever that you are doing to be able to break away. So he's doing his job. So the question is that for you that is asking to go away, what are you doing to address the issues that stop you from getting to where you are going? The self-determination that you are seeking. That's why it looked like as if, and of course, I was always going to stand with the Prince of Peace, Jesus Christ, on the issue of using violence and war to achieve that particular purpose, about blood that will be shared. If people did not take precaution, either in their conduct and in the way they carry on that particular cause, that purpose, that mission. We keep saying, in order for these things to happen, in order for them to achieve this, then what is the plan? And if you remember again in the prophecy then, that there was been a prophecy at the time we were talking about the situations and the problems that continues to plague Nigeria and all the African countries in the way their government and their leadership do not take the interest of the people, the population, their subject, their constituents. As a democratic countries or democracy is concerned, which is the government of the people, by the people, for the people. So when you look at that, you can see the underlying problems. And then in the prophecies, I was talking about the issue, the lack of strategic planning, succession plan. What is the succession plan? That is the strategic plan. Where is the structural plan? Because in order for things to stand, there must be a structure. For me to stand in front of you today, there was a structure that is made up of bone, 256 bones. Each of them is a solid structure, upon which the ligaments, the muscles, and all the other things are built around to be able to look like a human being. But a lot of people thought that the things that they do in the media and all the noise making is what the word, or anybody can force a word. to come to support it. So that's why we talk about what is your alliance. When people are meeting together, either in tribal, which is the tribe, just like those that are seeking to occupy the highest office in that place. So we want you to begin to look at in this year, and the things that you pursue in your life, whatever God has called you to, do you have things that in place, and do you have the kind of resources and support to be able to achieve that? So if you decide to go into war, do you have the war and the weapon and the supply and things in order to wage war against another Nigeria as a whole? Or is it a plan where each person will have to all come together and have like what they had in Liberia and Sierra Leone, where they have a wiring factions and everybody starting to a fight at the cost of a human life? Will God be with you if you are a God's child and you profess that you have God as your father to defend you and deliver you? Of course, God can declare a war, and when God declares such a war, then you don't have to worry, because God will fight the battle, and that's where the angels come. So when you see that for those that are grieved and are in pain and in conflict, then they need to really think deeply and think so much about that, and they can make a comparison. Just last week, in the message last week, if you have were here or have heard the message last week, then you would have seen that right after that, by Monday, the entire Europe and America formed and revived the alliance that has already been there, that seemed to be dormant, into actions in order to intervene over the crisis in Ukraine. So who have intervened in the crisis in Nigeria? And then for those that are Biafran or Oduduwa nations, which of the nations do you have an alliance with that have actually summoned themselves up to say, oh, we got to give you your rights. We got to defend your rights. We got to protect your dignity. We got to defend you and protect you from those that are killing you. Then if that is not the case, then what is your significance? How important are you? For them, there must be something at stake. What is their benefit? What is our benefit as a country, America, to get involved in what is happening in some African country, no superpower,